Hello viewers, today we are going to discuss the greatness of Thiruvalluvar, the author of Thirukkural. Thiruvalluvar is a renowned Tamil poet and philosopher who contributed the Thirukkural, a work on ethics, to Tamil literature. He was born in Kanyakumari district in Tamil Nadu. He was supposed to have lived sometime between the 1st century BC and the 8th century AD. He is also called Thiruvalluvar, which means divine poet. Valluvar, Poyyamazhippulavar, Sennapottar, Gnanavettiyan or Ayyan. Thirukkural is one of the most revered ancient books in Tamil language, which acts as a guide for human morals and ethics in life. Thirukkural has been translated into several languages including Latin. The translation into Latin was done by Constanzo Beschi in 1730, which paved the way for the work to be known to European intellectuals. Thirukkural is a combined word which is formed by joining two words. Thiru means reverent and Kural means a form of poem written in a typical style, and it is something like ballad in English poems. The other forms of poetry writing in Tamil being Venba, Yappu, etc. Thirukkural is divided into three parts. Part 1 deals with Aram, which is related to good and ethical conduct with conscience and behavior and honor as well. Part 2 describes Porul, discussing the right manner of implementing worldly affairs. Part 3 is a description on Inbam, love between men and women. Part 1 has 38 chapters, Part 2 70 and Part 3 25 chapters. An individual needs to devote himself to reading Aram and Inbam to his private life, and more than the couplets in Thirukkural are under Porul that discusses and describes ethics and moral values in public life. Thus, it is very clear that Thiruvalluvar gives more importance to righteous living in public life. Thirukkural is a gem divine among the classics. It is a book of deliverance of code of conduct to the mankind, unique to be followed for all the times. It has 1330 couplets covering 133 chapters, comprising 10 verses in each chapter. It is a treatise by Thiruvalluvar, a famous author brightening every bit of it. He is a dynamic writer who has been complimented by various scholars from all parts of the world. Dr. Albert Schweitzer says, there hardly exists in the literature of the world a collection of maxims in which we find so much of wisdom. Mahatma Gandhi, in praise of the book, says that the book is a textbook of indispensable authority on moral life. The maxims of Valluvar have touched my soul. There is none who has given such a treasure of wisdom like him. Mahatma Gandhi found bliss in saying that he came to know about Thirukkural from Leo Tolstoy, who had openly acknowledged that he could get the concept of non-violence from a German translation of the Kural. Sri Aurobindo said, Thirukkural is gnomic poetry, the greatest in planned consumption and force of execution ever written in this kind. Thirukkural is a treatise par excellence on the part of living. The whole of human aspiration is epitomized in this immoral book, a book for all ages, says K.M. Munshi, the founder of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan and a great man of letters. Thiruvalluvar is a national poet. The Tamil people take pride in possessing him and his works. According to Thiruvachakamani, K.M. Balasubramaniam, Thiruvalluvar's Thirukkural and Manikavachaga's Thiruvachakam are analyzed as the body and soul respectively of the Divine Mother, Tamil. Human beings can build up the character and conduct when they read Kural. On the other hand, the souls can have a sumptuous food of divine ambrosia which can prepare them for their eternal beatitude when he reads Thiruvachakam. It is a belief that Thiruvalluvar was the son of Bhagavan, a Brahmin, and Adi, a Paraya woman. Thiruvalluvar's wife was Vasuki, a devoted wife to her husband. She is known for her dutiful nature and obedience. She led her life according to the instructions of her husband. Thiruvalluvar was thus a great sage and a great grahastha, a householder during the time. He proved to all that a man has no necessity to convert himself into a sannyasi or a saint to become pious. A man can lead the life of a grahastha and leading a pious life with sanctity. Kural develops the wisdom and thinking of man and enables him to live the life of honor, dignity, honesty. It is a book of divinity of every reader can cleanse his body and mind in the best form. Thirukkural is a work by itself. It was composed about 1800 years back. We have got the aphorisms of the poet about loving kindness that show the humane approach to the difficulties of life. The ideals that are loftily are revealed in this didactic work and describe those that transcend the barriers of race, creed, place and time. Thiruvalluvar has stressed the basic moral principles, but they seem to be out of specific practices of religion. Let us have a look at them. Thiruvalluvar has stressed the basic moral principles, but they seem to be out of specific practices of religion. Let us have a look at them. Thiruvalluvar talks of worship, but not about the way of worship is made. God is referred to as an ultimate reality, but he is refrained to be called by any name. Reading and reciting scriptures have their value, but author does not mention the name of values. Values of charity are stressed upon, but not on the rules that are laid down. There is a repeated importance of learning, but not about what is to be learnt. The taxation in governance is referred to, but no reference is made to them by any name. Land, village and country are spoken of, but not with a reference of them by any name. There are couplets referring to kings and ministers, but no couplet is found to contain any reference to particular king or kingdom. It is a great ambiguity to find that very word Tamil is missing from the text. Because of all these reasons, the Thirukkural has been recognized as a book of universal application on the art of living. Reverend Dr. G.U. Pope called Thiruvalluvar the bard of universal man, and H. Hopkins called the level of general principles as mandatory ethics. Thiruvalluvar's message and teachings can be applied to varied contexts, but its great relevance to society can be taken in its secular view today. Let us go back to the times when he lived. Several religions were followed at the time and in the place where Thiruvalluvar lived. One would find religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism in 2nd century AD in Tamil Nadu. Christianity may have been in existence in India as it already had its pre-existing trade with Rome. It is a note of appreciation that in spite of all these religions in existence, there is a secular feeling about the ethics expounded by Thiruvalluvar, and he became their core religionist. India, the world's most complex society, has all the major religions of the world with varied languages spoken and a functional democracy. It is the most populous country in the world too. In these situations, we can find India's thirst in achieving economically better living status and more socially just country in the rapidly changing times. Indians have understood the importance of ethical and moral renewal, absence of which results in no advancement in the related fields. This base is what Thiruvalluvar provides in his Kural, and it is not only to Tamil Nadu but the rest of India as well. Mahatma Gandhi also revealed the uniqueness of Thiruvalluvar in the following lines. Only a few of us know the name of Thiruvalluvar. The North Indians do not know the name of the great saint. There is none who has given such a treasure of wisdom like him. Thirukkural begins with the following sloka. Aharamudala eduthellam Adibhagavan mudathre ulagu, meaning God is the primary source. The writer says that A is primary of all letters. God is the primary source of the world. When the word begins, there is only one who stood between beginningless and endless. Thus, God is the ultimate authoritative power of the world. There is no use of learning if people do not love and respect the propitious feet of the Lord. It is always wise to come of the obscenity and vulgarity that binds human beings and enjoy their everlasting bliss. This can happen only if one holds on to the feet of God. Learning can become successful and blissful only by bringing the maturity of mind to continue this acquired wisdom and knowledge of God. The Lord or the God is the only one who knows everything in completeness and purity. Kattadanaal Ayapayan Enkol Valarivan Natral Thoralenin. The poet says that those reach out to the glorious feet of the Lord show up on the lotus of heart and would live long on the land. The devotees are yogis. They make them win the world. Yogis do not have death and are immortal. They are sincere at their heart and stay in their own world of memories. Thus, they seem to get liberated from everything and everyone. Malarmisai Yeginan Manadi Serndar, Nilamisai Nidu Valvar. Thiruvalluvar says that devotees who reach out to the feet of the God need not fear anything. There is no distress for them. God does not require anything externally. He wants nothing but absolute happiness of his devotee. He is the perfect being and has no aversion towards anything. He is therefore hailed as Shiva. The form of those things that are least respected is an indication of Lord Shiva. Virtue. God is beyond the likes and dislikes. The devotee who holds on to the endless good also gets the same features. However, they may appear to be different in the eyes of the world. There are both meritorious and demeritorious works that produce good and bad fruits respectively. They do not yield an external bliss which is not concerned with the external good and bad states. Therefore, they both have the taint of darkness. When the devotee does not pay attention to any of these, but on the ever blissful Lord, they do not have to worry of the two kinds of deeds and would be at the stage of liberation. The pursuit which is devoid of falsehood is for the truth. It is difficult for the one to cross the ocean of births without reaching out to the feet of the ocean of justness, the feet of the kind one. The path which is devoid of any insincerity is the path for the one who extinguished the gates of the five censers, and he would live long. Lord Shiva has the flag of bull. It shows the significance of justness or dharma. There are many traits of God, among which mercy is an important one. God is highly merciful in nature. Therefore, Thirukkural addresses God as Andanar. To cite an example, the poet quotes here instance of substance that sticks to the wheel. Just as it does, these pursues keep moving up and down over the wheel. simultaneously enjoying the good and bad fruits of the meritorious and demeritorious deeds. If a person wants to come out of this act, he needs to seek the help of the force that which would help to pull him out of the wheel. This act would help us to get liberation that we need to seek God. Virtue always yields heaven and wealth, and what more does a man want? One has to understand that the purpose of everyone in this world is to board a bus to reach his destination. Likewise, the purpose of taking this body is to get the bliss of God, which would remain eternal. The head that does not bow down before the God is as good as a vehicle that remains non-functioning. Similarly, the hands that do not hold in adoration of God, the tongue that does not praise God remain the same. Ennamarum Gunanadarum, Samandar says. Yettukkolar avar eril perungunam, Upper says. Lord Shiva is said to have hailed by the Puranas and scriptures as one having 8 great characters. God shall bless prosperity on those who approach him, destroying the 5 desires of senses. Goddess Lakshmi, or the fortune, favors only those with a joyous mind and a benevolence of hospitality, and shall dwell in their house. A cheerful countenance along with a sweet speech is better than a gift made of joyous mind. The poet says that it is always good to forget an injury or an insult, but not a benefit. The man who dwells in the virtue of equity and takes both pain and pleasure equally is virtuous. Speaking of self-control, the poet says that it is knowledge if a man control himself all the time, which would bring him distinction among the wise. The one who cherishes envy is free from enemies. Evil always begets evil, and so the poet wants all to be away from evil thoughts and deeds. Now the poet talks of the importance of rain. The continuous downpour of the rain preserves the world and therefore worthy to be called ambrosia. It itself is a food and also produces good food. If the cloud withholds rain, there will be distress around the secret spacious world. Even the green blade of grass will not be seen without a drop from the clouds. If it can be said that duties of life cannot be performed by any person without water, so without rain there cannot be the flowing of water. Virtue is free from our 4 things: malice, desire, anger, and bitter speech. A person who shuns these will flourish in domestic life. Virtue also includes the forsaken, the poor, and the dead. A man's dignity and virtue are said to be great if he does not look at others' wife. The poet speaks of the importance of the marital life. A wife who has the excellence of home virtues has everything that she deserves. A man with an eminent wife does not require anything else more. There is nothing more excellent for a man than having a wife possessing the stability of chastity. The woman who worships her husband, takes care of him, need not worship God. It is true always that the chief god of a woman is her chastity. Such a woman obtains excellence in the world where God flourishes. Child rearing. The Thirukkural speaks of children and their education. The poet says that apart from education, care is to be taken to develop leadership qualities and the ability to communicate and thus develop aptitude skill. The quality of a child's education depends on the sacrifice that the parents make. children ought to be taught discipline and proper socialization, which will be highly respected. Such children will be recognized and honored. Kural 68 says, தம்மின் தம்மக்கள் அறிவுடைமை மாநிலத்து மண்ணுயிர்க்கெல்லாம் இனிது. If the children's intelligence is more than that of parents, it is a great joy to all the human beings on the earth. Thiruvalluvar uses the word all living beings in order to express the opinion that increased intelligence from generation to generation, leading to many inventions and bringing joy to all. We can refer to examples of Edward Jenner, Einstein, and others who have excelled their parents with their inventions and theories. How apt it is to quote the same by Thiruvalluvar years ago in his Kural. Kural 70 says, மகன் தந்தைக்கு ஆற்றும் உதவி இவன் தந்தை என்னோற்றான் கொல்லெனும் சொல். The duty of the child to parent is to make others wonder what penance the father had done to beget him. Parents are of extreme joy when they hear others praising the virtue of their children. Children, by their qualities like behavior, attitude, knowledge, obedience, duty-minded towards parents, compassion and sympathy towards poor and needy, broader sense of outlook, and so on, will turn to be virtuous in nature. It is a great wonder and joy to the parents of such children as to what penance the parents had performed to beget these children. About virtue, the poet sings the praise of gratitude, self-control, good and right conduct and honesty. He knew very well that even though virtue is supremely the matter of priority, without wealth it would never be seldom practicable. In Kural 1048 he says, இன்றும் வருவது கொல்லோ நெருநலும் கொன்றது போலும் நிரப்பு. Will that hunger return which nearly killed me yesterday? At the same time, he criticizes wealth as something useless. He says in Kural 1005, கொடுப்பதும் துய்ப்பதும் இல்லார்க்கு அடுக்கிய கோடி உண்டாயினும் இல். He is poor, though a millionaire, who neither gives nor spends. On politics and governance, the poet spoke words of wisdom on the administration of state by lucidly explaining the relationship between the king, his ministers, and his subjects. He has aptly stressed the importance of learning, having enough good friends, importance of agriculture and social service, and on the other hand, condemns corruption and nepotism, which remain the scourge of modern day politics as something of evil and unjust and unwise as well. In Kural 314, he says, இன்னா செய்தாரே ஒருத்தல் அவர் நாண நன்னயம் செய்துவிடல். Punish a sinner by palling him with a good deed and forget. On love and emotion, the poet speaks of entirely love and mystic beauty of this prime emotional feeling of human beings. It is all about youthful love and its trial and tribulations. In Kural 1081 he says, அணங்குகொல் ஆய்மையில் கொல்லோ கணங்குழை மாதர்கொல் மாலும் என் நெஞ்சு. A goddess, a peacock, or a woman decked in jewels asked my heart amazed. On spiritual liberation through knowledge, Thiruvalluvar speaks about virtue, wealth, and love in length. It is all related with righteousness as well as the life of many generations. The poetry is eloquent, describing the need for innate wisdom. The poet strongly believes that the knowledge of virtue, wealth, and love would definitely lead the soul of one to nirvana or salvation. பிறவி பெருங்கடல் நீந்துவர் நீந்தார் இறைவனடி சேராதார். The final mode of human existence is moksha, or spiritual liberation, to speak indeed. The poet says that those who reach out to the feet of God would swim off the huge ocean of births and deaths. They would get salvation or liberation. Thus, everyone is blessed to reach the shore of bliss, holding on to the life of boat, which is none other than God's feet. If not, achieving fortune would be delayed further and further. Universal ethical content. The greatest value of writing in the Thirukkural is that it guides our actions and thoughts with an accurate blend of personal character, ethical conduct, and the responsibility of the state in building a prosperous and thriving society. All the chapters elucidate varied aspects of human virtues and vices. God is portrayed as universal in content, who transcends the marginal line of God. The poet says that God may be a Hindu, Jain, Muslim, or Christian, but Kural's primary concern is to see the entire world in such a way that it leads the way to man's prosperity and adversity, heaven or hell, and his present and future fruits of his own deeds. Hope you enjoy this session. See you in the next class.